Okay, so I feel that we might get a little bit more into our wrists and ankles during this session. There's a few things I'm playing around with, thanks to my teacher Louise, which has helped enormously to free the spine a little bit more. So we'll start sitting and actually just sit cross-legged for a moment and just rest your fingers over your knees and just close your eyes. And just feel into the body, so just notice yourself sitting. And just start to notice the fingers. So it's not that the fingers are grasping the knees, but they're kind of wrapped around the knees. So you're really in the fingers as much as you can, like right through to the tips of the fingers. And then staying in the fingers, just start to notice your wrist joints. So they're quite hidden between the hands and the lower arms. And just start to pick up a little bit in the wrists. So there's a tendency to then pick it up in the arms, but let the arms move as a result of the picking up of the wrists, if that makes sense. So not the arms doing the movement, but the arms moving as a consequence of the picking up of the wrists. Very subtle, so that the heel of the hands has less weight on the knees, and the fingers have almost more weight on the knees. And some of you will start to feel the need to get more into your feet. So find the feet and the toes particularly, as if the toes wanted to tickle towards your tail. And the knees want to start finding more of each other as well, so they're not dropping to the mat. And then your sacrum, some of you will notice, starts to want to deepen, deepen, and deepen, and the spine starts to go deeper as a consequence. The belly softens. And then just see what happens when you drop your chin to your chest. It's quite tricky actually, because it will just want to bob back up. Chin to chest. And just rest, let go then through the neck, which is tricky in itself. And see if you can still, even trickier, pick up through the wrists. Notice the thumbs. So give a little bit more weight to the thumbs, a little bit more picking up through the wrists, chin to the chest. And some of you will notice how this also takes your sacrum deeper into the back. You might have to round a little bit in your upper spine initially, but keep picking up in the wrists. Toes, feet, start to find more of your ankles now. Really find more depth going up into your ankles, pick up in the ankles. And then just wait for an impulse, perhaps, for the head to bob itself back up without it being about the neck muscles. So breathing in, perhaps, and then the head bobs itself up. Spine stays deep, unstuck from the back muscles. And then keeping all of this, see if you might almost walk your feet ahead of you into maybe slightly wider than you would normally practice Dandasana. And the hands can stay on the knees, and there's a real sense of buoyancy in the knees. And then you can start to find more of your feet here. And it's something we have a conversation about, some of us from time to time in class, that we think we're in our feet and we're not in our feet. So you start to really go deeper into the feet. Notice the fronts of the ankles. You might get like a little dimple at the front of the ankle here. Find more of the ankles. There's roundness to the heels. And a sense of the feet turning away from one another, but at the same time, see if the knees can turn in towards one another. And that, for some of you, you'll notice, takes you deeper into your hip flexors, and you start to notice actually that you've got hips, thigh bones going deep into the sides there. So feet turn away, knees turn in. Pick up in the wrists, still, spine goes deep. And then maybe from here it's possible for the hands to come away from the knees, and it might be really difficult if you're sinking back onto your tail. You might need to bend your knees a little bit more. Otherwise, some of you can probably rest the calf muscles down without losing the depth of the spine. And the hands might go up in the air. It's like the wrists take the hands up, and there's more a sense of roundness, I suppose, to the arm bones, the upper arm bones. And the upper arm bones keep being swallowed, received by the shoulder joints, hands, wrists. Feet want to keep turning out, knees want to keep turning in, belly softens. There's a tendency, I just noticed myself doing it, to push the belly forward, soften into the belly. Give weight to the breastbone, the base of the breastbone. Spine goes deep. Back muscles keep resting, resting, resting. And then just see what happens. Just be curious. If you just bend the elbows and just let your hands come towards the back of the head, back of the neck, and just rest the head down again if you can. And breathe. And then simultaneously let the hands go back up without pulling the shoulders up, and let the head bob itself up on an inhalation perhaps. And then slowly the hands can come down without losing the going up through the spine, without the feet losing their attentiveness, their aliveness, knees, hips. Breath. Brilliant. Okay, and then let's see what that might look like, or not, as the case may be, in dog. So Adho Mukha Svanasana, if you come over onto all fours. And let's almost, if we start in this like higher kneeling position, and so even here there's a sense of the knees turning in and the thighs, the tissue of the thighs resting back to the bone. And here we are, hips, inner thighs want to spread, weight to the sacrum. And so that when the hands come down, you try not to pull on the back in any way. So it's almost like a gathering into your middle. Keep coming through the hips, keep coming through the hips. Hands, they want to play, it's like they're playing the piano almost with the air. The air is the piano, if that makes sense. So you're still coming up through the wrists, still coming up through the wrists, still coming up through the wrists. There's more of an arching of the arm bones, more roundness, away from the torso, more of the elbows. You can maybe even rest the head here to see how that changes things. Let go through the neck so the head can find more where it wants to take itself. And really finding the ankles so that as the right toes tuck under, there's a sense you could almost step the right foot forward. There's a going up through the ankles so you're not being snatched. The ankle's not being snatched by the heel. And there's a going up through the left ankle as the left toes tuck themselves under without losing the heel. There's space through the inner thighs. It's almost like the knees want to remember what it's like to look towards one another. Maybe the hands are a bit closer to the knees than they might be ordinarily, and there's softness through the back. Tail takes you up to the middle of the body. Maybe the head rests. Sometimes it doesn't want to. Don't know that mine wants to. And so when we come into the, or try and come into the posture for today anyway, really paying attention to the wrists and the ankles. You know, some of us have a tendency to pick the bum up. It's one of my tendencies. So just trying to avoid that for today at least. So there's wrists and there's ankles, and the ankles might help you to bring the knees away from the mat. And the arm bones are deep in the shoulders. The arm bones are deep in the shoulders. And so slowly, slowly, there's a sense of the ankles deepening you. Inner thighs spreading, weight on the sacrum. Almost a going up through the shoulders, the ankles, the ankles. And so in many ways, it's the going up through the ankles which will help you to find more of the heels, and it's the knees that have to open with the inner thighs. Keep going up through the ankles, finding more space through the inner thighs. You go in deeper to the shoulders. And so maybe the heels come down because of going up through the ankles, widening through the inner thighs, weight on the sacrum. Belly lets go, the hands might walk one step towards the feet, and then you should be able to hopefully bring yourself to stand from there. And then you find yourself in Tadasana. And when you're in Tadasana, just closing the eyes, have the feet apart initially, and just come off the heels. And there's the toes, and there's the hands, and there's the wrists, and there's the head bobbing. So we might have a little go at Malasana or working towards it, towards squat, but coming through the ankles and the wrists more than anything else. So it's almost a sense that the arms just want to float up, like you're opening your wings almost, and the back's really soft, head just kind of bobs here. There's the ankles. So the ankles help you to find the squat, so the knees don't push forward. And if anything, actually, you end up feeling like you're sitting back a little bit. So there's more a sense of the toes. The ankles keep sending you up. Takes you deeper into your hips. Deeper into the hips. Back stays soft, belly stays soft, wrists. Not going too far. Sitting back into the hips. And then almost imagining you've got swishy balls in your knees. And it's the knees that are going to bring you back up. So not making it about the thighs or the calves or the upper body, not pulling up, but going deep into the knees, like a squishy ball. The knees open, close, and slowly start to bring you back. Maybe there's a deeper release, breath. Head still bobs. And you find yourself back into Tadasana, but with more softness in your knees. More a sense of being in the ankles, the feet, the hands. And then we'll just take that to a wall, actually. That's something I've been playing around with. So you just want to, you don't necessarily need a mat, oh, I don't think you do, to come against a wall, but use one if you want to, obviously. It doesn't matter about being completely against the wall, but just having a point of reference behind you. And so the feet, there's the feet and the knees, like squishy balls again, and there's the ankles, and you're not pressing into your heels. And the hands bring themselves up through the wrists, so there's breath. The weight of the arm bones goes deeper into the shoulders, like the shoulders gobble the arm bones. Fingers want to play the air almost. Fingertips come back, maybe towards the wall, and maybe the head can drop down again. Just rest, rest, rest. And so there's still the ankles, still the wrists. And maybe simultaneously, you might take a breath and the head might pop itself back up without you being on the neck muscles as the right foot steps forward. And the left heel turns in and you're in warrior one. And the back muscles soften and the spine goes deeper. And then maybe from here, we might bring the left foot into Vriksasana, into tree. So inhaling, left foot might pop itself on the right leg so it doesn't drop away. So the knees could still find one another. And then we could stay here, or the left hand could come down. Keep the right hand up as if it's reaching back for the wall. And then this is the difficult bit, to really come into the hip, to not disturb the spine, is the left hand and left foot coming together. Maybe the ball of, maybe holding the big toe or the outer foot. And then how we might move towards Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana without losing the depth of the spine. The knees still want to find one another. Bringing the left arm bone back into the left shoulder. Bringing the left thigh bone deep into the left hip. And we'll take a breath in, breath out, and release from there, and the right hand can come down. Just pause, just notice how that feels. And then come back to the wall, and we'll do that again on the other side. So again, it's just a point of reference. And you find your hands. And maybe this time there's another way. Maybe they almost want to float up as if you are opening your wings. And there's those squishy balls still in the knees. And the wrists, take the arms up without it being about the arm muscles per se. The spine's still deep. And the ankles, remember what it was like to squat. The ankles know to take you up, and the wrists. And then we release the head down again, just let the neck relax. And maybe with the head down and the neck relaxing, you can take your hands further back towards the wall. There can be more depth in the shoulders, softness in the belly. And then we'll take a breath in, and the head and the left foot might pop themselves forward. Right heel might turn in and you're in Virabhadrasana 1. And the spine's deep, dropping into that left knee. And then from here, maybe the right foot comes into Vrksasana, taking a breath in, breath out. So the right foot might rest on the left leg and the knees turn in towards one another, so you're not dropping out from the hip. And you could stay here, or maybe the right hand comes down and the left hand keeps almost reaching back for the wall. And then really finding more of the right hip, right shoulder as the right hand takes hold of the right big toe or the outer right foot. And then without collapsing, dropping. It's difficult. Right arm bone back to right shoulder, right hip, right thigh, bone to hip. Breathe, focus, eyes, soften. And then take a breath in, breath out, and release from there. And just pause to feel that. And then just bring yourself from there down, back onto your mat. And actually just bring yourself down onto your back if you can. Have the feet just a little bit wider apart than hip distance. And really have a sense of going down into the feet so that your sacrum, it's almost like you could take an envelope under the sacrum, you're not just dropping down into it. And then just play around with taking the hands above the head so that your shoulders can rest to the mat and the back of the head so that the spine peels itself almost away from the mat. And just breathe. And then maybe you stay here. Or some of you might want to explore taking your hands into position for Urdhva Dhanurasana with the hands quite far away. Well, I think it's interesting to try it with the hands a bit further away from the ears than you might normally take them. But the resting into the shoulders, either way, whether your hands stay above your head or come into position for Urdhva Dhanurasana. And there's a sense of going down into the feet and the knees wanting to find one another. And of finding more depth, so less pushing into the sacrum. And even here, there's a sense of resting the head and the shoulders. And then it may be that you keep the hands wherever they are and you come up through the spine, you take a breath in, breath out. And there's a sense of the tail taking you into bridge or a variation of bridge without pushing the knees forward, thigh bones deep in the hips. Or some of you from there might explore what it's like to come into Urdhva Dhanurasana, where there's a sense of deepening shoulders and coming up as if your shoulders are almost like wheels. And just noticing how that feels, resting the head perhaps. And then whether you're in Urdhva Dhanurasana or find yourself in bridge, slowly bringing yourself down with a sense of still coming up through the spine. Inner thighs spreading, still being in the feet, so not dropping the pelvis. And then resting from there, so arms coming down. And as you release your legs, just being mindful not to pull the thigh bones away from the hips. So actually that's a practice in itself, because you can take your heels, slide them away to a point, and then actually you can just rest the legs down. And the spine will stay free because it almost feels like you could come to sit. And then just noticing how this feels. And then just completely letting go. And perhaps you just turn off this video now and carry on resting. Or you might roll to one side and bring yourself to sit. And just notice how that's changed your seat. And maybe you sit here for some time just observing your breath. Otherwise, hands to the heart, chin to the chest, bowing to the heart as you open your eyes. And namaste.